Columbina is the key to Natlan and its dragons. Spoiler warning for Natlan and anything related to Natlan, so if you do not want to know, click off the video now. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. So we've had a lot of leaks about Natlan recently, which has allowed me to come up with this crack theory that I think I might be onto something. I've had theories in the past that were dead accurate while others were not so on the mark, but in my defense, Columbina does look like a celestial being, and she does have angelic-like references all over her design. But I also speculated right after Fontaine wrapped up that not only would the captain be there, but Columbina and Dodore would be as well, and people said I was coping, that I was out to lunch. Well, it turns out leaks have unanimously been consistent with the fact that they are going to play a key part in Natlan. And with the most recent leaks that we've had, I think I can sort of paint a picture on what we should see from Columbina. Before I can talk about how she's linked to the dragons and the key to all this, what do we know about the Harbingers? Well, each Harbinger was recruited for a specific purpose, and the entire storyline of Teyvat has been laid out one nation after the other in chronological order, and we've known this order since the very beginning. We always knew Natlan was going to fall right before Shasnaya, and the last Gnosis was always going to be Natlan. Natlan being the theme of resurrection, dragons, and war. The top three Harbingers were referenced specifically to be as strong as gods. Nahida specifically mentioned these three, and the top three represent different aspects of strength. The captain being brutally strong, the Dore intelligent, experimenting with creating gods, and Columbina, from everything we can see about her design, how she's represented and spoken about in-game from different voice lines, that she's more the psychological and emotional strength. The brains, the bronze, and the psyche. This is important. Her eyes are always closed, even on her constellation, the little dove, that's shaped like a heart, while still crying, which also hints towards her psychological abilities. And all of the Harbingers have specific roles, like the captain's the leader and he's strong, he's brutally strong. He's the force to be reckoned with. Dodore's the guy that's enhancing everything, and he's the logistical guy of the Harbingers, he's the second. And we know with Scaramouche, he was experimenting and just doing research on creating a god. Arlecchino can manipulate fate and memory wiping. The Rooster is the mayor of Shasnaya and a political figure with a lot of control that way. Also, he looks like a dragon. I am honestly dead set that this guy's the Dragon Sovereign. Look at his eyes. The codename the Rooster, Dragon's Roost. He's the mayor of Shasnaya the same way that Neverlet is the Eudix in Fontaine. I'm telling you. Pantalone with his financing and being rich, Sandrone with her ruined technology and Conria experimentation, probably linked to the Narcissus and Croints. Tartaglia and Signora act as fetch quest characters to get these Gnosis and go do their diplomatic duties. Point being, we don't really know what Columbina's purpose is, but if her purpose is to control dragons, and her being having ties with Natlan, that makes perfect sense. We're going to get into that in a second. We first need to talk about the leaks now that we got, because the leaks sort of paint this picture a little bit, and they give us more details about Natlan and things to come up. Firstly, that the Pyro and Electro Sovereigns will be in Natlan. We got a Natlan teaser. Dragons and humans have been living in somewhat harmony for a little while and able to coexist. Natlan is heavily themed around dragons. We knew this from Neverlet after 4.2, but this is confirmed throughout the game now, and we had a recent event that's still going on where a guy from Natlan actually talks about this relationship. He also states that dragons and humans did not always get along. This was not always the case. And we know that the current Pyro Archon is not the original Archon. Venti and Zhongli are the only two original Archons. This is important. Now, what do we know about Columbina? What has been leaked about her? I know a lot of people are speculating that she might be a dragon now that it's leaked she's in Natlan, but it's said that she's a blessed race. What does that mean? Well, it's sort of like the Aranara or the Yokai like Yaimiko, the Yaksha or maybe the Adepti from Liyue. God-ish level tier, an ancient powerful species. And being that she's the third Harbinger, that kinda adds up. But it's also specifically said that she was created by the original Pyro Archon. Now, going by these leaks and everything we know, I really don't think she's a dragon, but meant to control dragons. Quell them, keep them in check, whatever you want to call it. Why I think this is because why else would the original Pyro Archon create this blessed race? Think about it. Ruka Devata created the RNR to help with dreams, control the affairs of Sumeru, and just help maintain the nation. The Adepti do this for Liyue and Zhongli, and if your nation is in constant war and dragons and humans fight each other, and if we know that dragons and humans didn't always coexist in Natlan, then I think it's safe to assume they were fighting a lot, and probably under the Pyro Archon, the original. So you would need to create a blessed species to help keep them in check. But if that's the case, would Columbina be powerful enough to control a sovereign? Well, we know that not all yokai are created equal. Same with Adepti. Whatever this blessed race that she's from, I think that Columbina is the pinnacle or omega version of that. She's probably the strongest of whatever ancient race under the original Pyro Archon she's from. And because we know that the elemental sovereignty of the nations was stolen from the original inhabitants of Teyvat, the dragons, it would make sense that the original Pyro Archon, when the Archons were being established and it was all very new, that she would need help controlling her nation that is heavily inspired with dragons and a big part of her nation. Similar to, like I said, how Ruka Devada created the Aranara to help her. And if that's the case, then what's Columbina doing in Natlan? Is she there just to control the war and put a stop to it? Not necessarily. See, I think each Harbinger has a very important purpose there, and I think Project Stuja is what happens after they do what they do in Natlan, Phase 2. But Phase 1 isn't done yet, because they still need the Pyronosis. That's where the captain comes in. He is going there to collect the last Gnosis in the Nation of War through his hat in the ring, as we've been told. He's there to collect that Gnosis, and anyone stupid enough to get in his way is going to get folded. The Dode is there to do the resurrecting. There is going to be some resurrecting, and Skirk recently told us that the Gnosis, the one thing that the Fatui are frantically collecting, is the remains of the third Descender. And the last one of these Gnosis, conveniently, is in the nation themed around resurrection. The Dode is the perfect candidate for this task in every conceivable way. That's why I originally predicted he'd be in this quest, and everyone thought I was crazy. But as we know, leaks in this game are like 99% right 100% of the time, as sad as it is. So that leaves Columbina. Well, what is she going to do in Natlan? And all the voice lines we heard about her suggest that her power is manipulation, emotional, and psychological. Tartaglia, that knows he's nowhere even near the strength of the captain, is still excited at the prospect of facing him and showing him what he can do, but he wants nothing to do with Columbina. Arlecchino doesn't say much. Scaramucci's voice lines is pretty important because it states that it's definitely linked with emotions. That still goes along with her constellation, the little dove crying, and that because we're organic or maybe have much more emotion than him, we would have a tough time with her, and it wouldn't be a battle of physical strength, but more mental. And the fact that she's the third ranked means that she'd be almost unbeatable. So that brings us with Columbina. What is she gonna do in Natlan? Well, we know that the Dragon King Nibelung was defeated along with his sovereigns when the primordial one came, and he was bitter and left, gained forbidden knowledge and abyssal powers and outworldly corruption. He came back. The first and the second Descender had a huge war in the heavens that shattered the world, and they defeated the third Descender and turned their remains into the Gnosis that give elemental authority and gave them to the Archons, the Gnosis. This is what allows an Archon with a demon name to essentially be an imposter ruler of a nation. We know in Fontaine that the dragons are the rightful rulers, and the sovereignty of the nation and that element can't be fully realized until that dragon is reinstated. That is why Focalor gave her power back to the rightful ruler. But if this is all to be the case, then it's safe to assume that the third Descender is probably this Dragon King. As we've learned in game, a Descender doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's specifically not from Teyvat, but they left and came back with forbidden knowledge and outworldly powers. Nibelung can still more than qualify as this third Descender. So if the captain is there to get the last piece of the third Descender and Dodoti's there to physically resurrect it, then Columbina's probably in Natlan as well to control it, keep it under wraps, because I don't think the Dragon King's just going to want a cup of tea after he wakes up. If they resurrect the third Descender, who is the king of sovereignty and the dragons in the nation of dragons, then I think that he's going to wake up pretty pissed off, and they'll need someone that can check him psychologically with his emotions. That is probably what Columbina was more or less recruited to the Harbingers to do. Like we talked about, each Harbinger has a very specific role that they fill, in every conceivable way. Plus, it's the most heavily speculated thing that the Dragon King is the third descender at this point. So if that is all to be true, once they resurrect this Dragon King, then Columbina can keep him under wraps, somewhat manipulate and control them, and perhaps that's what the Fatui need. They want to control the Dragon King, which might in turn give them control of the dragons. Maybe Columbina already has the Electro and Pyro Dragon under her control already, because we know they want to seize authority from the gods. Piero already stated this, and that Conria has connections with dragons as well. Every time Rhindaughter makes a monster, it seems to be a dragon. Even in her art with the Hexen Circle, it's depicted as a dragon. She has a dragon Easter egg. The dragons are definitely linked with the Fatui Harbingers and their goals, but it seems that the Fatui Harbingers might be manipulating or using the dragons as a means to an end. Are they working together? Or is one controlling the other? All of this we obviously don't know. And lastly, I do believe Columbina will either manipulate Nibelung to burn Irminsul, or she's going to do it herself, because Columbina's linked to be a pyro unit, and she and Dodore were foreshadowed to be doing this back in that funeral trailer. And it has already been leaked that the burning of Irminsul is going to happen between Natlan and Shesnaya. Irminsul poses a threat to the Fatui's plans, obviously has all the secrets hidden within it, the memories of Teyvat, and the true history could have been altered. Irminsul literally is a database for Teyvat, but if it's being misused, it can be one of, if not the greatest threats to everyone within Teyvat, neurologically. Clearly, in order for the Fatui to accomplish their endgame, Irminsul's gotta go. Clearly. And honestly, I think Columbina is the best candidate to get this done, whether by manipulation or if she does it herself. She still is rank 3 after all. I do want to cover the history of the dragons in Teyvat and where they came from before they even got to Teyvat, so stay tuned for that video. But to summarize, do I think Columbina's a dragon herself? No. I think she was created by a non-dragon, the Pyro Archon, to control dragons in the nation of dragons, being that Columbina's leaked to be confirmed a special species from Natlan, and being that she's there to help the other two Harbingers in the nation of dragons, this just makes the most sense to me. Dragons are becoming more and more relevant as this game goes on. Obviously, I know we had Dvalin in Chapter 1, Mondstadt, but the Sovereigns and the dragons in general were never a really big part of the main story until we got to Enkanomiya, learned about the history, and they've just been more and more relevant with Apep, New Valette playing a bigger part, and then now with Natlan. Also, another small detail that could confirm that she was created by the original Pyro Archon as a special species to control dragons is look at all the other dragons we see in the game. Apep doesn't really like anything to do with the new world that was usurped. New Valette's the most level-headed we've seen, but even he's pissed off and wants to judge the gods. Zhongli avoids him like the plague in the New Lantern Rite. Most of the dragons ran away to Enkanomiya or outside Celestia's control. The dragons we see in all the other nations, pretty hostile, and if you run into them in the wild, they attack you. Pretty much Natlan's the only region we know of where dragons and humans coexist, probably because of the creation of these special species like Columbina long ago, and Columbina being the apex of this species. But anyways, that's the video. I guess in a sense, am I disappointed that she's not the Angel of Death or linked to Celestia like we originally thought, or some kind of Seelie? It's never too late to say that might not happen. Again, you always gotta take leaks with a grain of salt. This is just a theory and my speculation based off of the information that we got, but at the end of the day, all we can really do is wait and see how this unfolds. But I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you couldn't tell by my profile picture, Columbina is one of my favorite characters in this game. I would say that she probably is my favorite character, so I'm very excited that all three of the top Harbingers and Natlan in general just seems. I am unbelievably excited for Natlan, and the fact that we're going to get the top 3 Harbingers is just crazy to me. I think this is going to be the coolest Archon quest yet. Natlan looks cool from the early sneak peek that we got. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. And as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.